An exclusive interview starring Lincoln and John Wilkes Booth on the assassination of Lincoln.
So, Abraham Lincoln, what were you most famous for in your day?
I was most famous for being the 16th President of the United States, preserving the Union, abolishing slavery, strengthening the federal government, and modernizing the economy. One thing I did was the Emancipation Proclamation 1863, which freed all slaves in the South and paved the way to the abolition of slavery. I also gave the Gettysburg Address in 1864, which was one of the most famous and influential speeches in history, and this was delivered at the Gettysburg battlefield, and it framed the war as a means to uphold the values of liberty. John Wilkes Booth, tell us some background about your life.
Well, you see, as a child, I lived in Bel Air. I went to Bel Air Academy. It was a really good life. I was also part of the Know Nothing Party. I didn't like those immigrants coming in. Because that's what the Know Nothing Party was, and I was a Confederate sympathizer, meaning that I sympathized for the Confederate. I was not part of the South. I just sympathized for them, and in fact, I was strongly against the abolishment of slavery, just because I think slavery was a necessity. In fact, I went to John Brown's hanging after he's raided at Harper's Ferry.
After the assassination.
Well, after the assassination, I jumped off on stage and yelled, "Sic Semper Tyrannis," which had to do along the lines of, with "Save the Tyrants." I just really thought that the Southern needs saving because I was a Confederate sympathist. And then I jumped right on a horse and went out to Maryland, but because I was so hated, everybody was always looking for me. There was rewards going up, and eventually I got shot in a barn with a bang. So we got shot in the barn, and that was understandable. It was by a Union soldier. And then 4 out of the 8 of my other conspiracy people got hanged for conspiring against the president. But that's basically what happened after the assassination. So, Abraham, what were your plans for Reconstruction originally?
Well, one of them was the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery and involuntary servitude except in the case of punishment of crime. This was ratified on December 6, 1865, and it was the first of the Reconstruction Amendment plans for Reconstruction. And the 10% plan I also made, which was for southern states could be readmitted into the Union once 10% of its voters swore an oath of allegiance. And my vision for Reconstruction was I didn't want to punish the southerners because I wanted Reconstruction to go by as fast as possible and just make the U.S. like it was before. Your motives for the assassination?
Oh, well, you see, I just didn't really agree with the way that President Lincoln was going through his presidency and the Reconstruction. I mean, the Amnesty plan, heck, that wasn't going to work. The 10% plan, how was he going to do that? He had no control. I always had sort of a resentment for Abraham Lincoln since I was so supportive of the concept of slavery, and once he abolished it, I was like, oh my God, don't do it. So that's basically my motives. So Lincoln, tell us, what happened after you were assassinated, or shot, should I say?
Well, I was in a good mood watching the play up until 10:15 when Booth came in and shot me. And he jumped onto the stage and everyone thought it was just kind of a part of the play until my wife started screaming. And then a 23-year-old doctor named Charles Leal came in and he found me paralyzed and having trouble breathing, and some soldiers carried me into a house across the street, and when the main surgeon came in, he said I would die in the night, and my vice president and some of my cabinet members and many of my closest friends were with me up until I died at 7:22 a.m. and my wife was in the adjoining room because she was traumatized. And
I'm sorry, Mr. Lincoln.
Yeah.
Sorry that you were assassinated.
You ever thought about your repercussions of your actions?
Honestly, I wonder if Reconstruction could have gone differently. I mean, Lincoln had so much control, so much power. I wonder if sometimes some of his plans may have actually worked. maybe if I didn't kill him, the desegregation in Little Rock, especially in all these schools, would have been different and more smooth, because there may have been more soothing of the de facto tension and racism in Southern society, so there wouldn't have been as much white resistance and tensions. But